Hey, my name's Sam, but most people know me as Mezs. Mez's Unexplored Life is a show I wanted to make to combat the stock standardness in the world. You know, the run-of-the-mill bullshit. Well, what run-of-the-mill bullshit are you talking about, Sam? Well, I can't focus on the whole world, so I'll just focus on my passion, and that's motorsport. The stuff that annoys me is the journalistic pieces that come out afterwards. It's always the same stories on the same people, and written and spoken in the same sensationalist way. An example, I saw an article, bold new livery unveiled. There was nothing bold about it. Nothing. It was just words to fill a gap. And even more so, recently it seems like anything a driver will post on social media then will get regurgitated by these news outlets as if it's an actual factual interview. You know, like one of the drivers will just post up them sitting on a jet ski and be like, can't wait for summer. And it will get regurgitated by these news outlets like local V8 supercar driver trades seat time for water time as a recovery operation during the down season. Now, that's an embellished one at most, but I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. And I don't know what annoys me, the journalists or the people that comment thinking it's actual, they'll be like, oh, well, you weren't unwinding in the seat when you spun out on lap 8 at Phillip Island last year, did you? Let's take it back to motorsport, baby. Let's focus on the racing, the good stuff, the fun stuff. And even more so, why are we focusing on 10 people? There's so many amazing characters and stories to be told. It's infinite, I reckon. But no, we're just doing the same stuff. So that's what I mean by stock standard. And it annoys me so much so that I've decided to set up 2 cameras and record myself ranting about this. It's more than that, but I want to find out what these characters were facing and what they were thinking at the time during their life. You know, everyone faces their own battles, and the stock standardness isn't going to give you any light on that matter. You're not going to find out what someone's actually thinking, what they're actually going through. And that's the stuff that will help us all. So join me on this journey as we find out. Give it a red hot crack, I reckon. Maybe. I don't know. It was also a great reason for me to get in my hot rig and give it a fang with some cool characters. So join me as we take this journey and let's just see how it unfolds. Our first guest today is none other than Coote. If you know him, you know he's a legend. If you don't know him, what are you doing?
Well, we'll get stuck in.
We'll do it in 10-minute chunks.
Yep. 10 minutes.
10-minute chunks? Behave.
Yeah. All right, we might as well get into it. Murray, firstly, thank you very much for giving us the time of day today. I'll try to get out of your hair quick.
Yeah, that's fine.
V8s on later.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we've got a bit to do, but we can do this.
Yeah, exactly. Let's sort of get into fresh. You've just announced that you and the team, you're heading back to World Time Attack Challenge. The event wasn't on last year. Were you kind of pushed the project to the side, or did you get the upper hand on the competition, mate, and get amongst it?
Well, no. There is a thing on the fridge with a magnet, and I signed it. You know that I, Murray Coote, won't be doing another World Time Attack, and I signed it. It's on the fridge. So it's on the fridge with a magnet. Bore it, in our house. You know. Yeah.
And was that imposed by a?
Well, no. We're still married.
Yeah.
And because of the circumstances with this crazy COVID stuff and whatever, and no international people, I just thought, my mate Baker and that we should, support him again and make it an entry, So I brought the subject up, and there's a little bit of help coming, so all that got approved, and away we go. So we've got motors out of cars and wiring out and all sorts of things happening.
Oh, that's awesome, mate. And I'd be a fool not to ask who's going to steer it.
Slady's going to have a go, another go, so that's good. He's happy to come back. He's had 2 out of 2 so far wins for us, so there's a good omen there, but not as though we've had any problems with any of the other drivers. We've had really good drivers over the period of time, but Slady's a bit of a friend, and he's keen to go.
Yeah, I was about to mention, mate. Last time he was behind the wheel, that was a win.
That's right.
That's a good omen.
Yeah.
Well, I might throw it back a little bit now, Murray. I'm
go on.
Going to go back deep. We're going to go back to about 1975.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So you're about 25 years old there.
That's right. Yeah.
Look, you've worked on the farm with your family. You're working at the Mazda dealership there.
Yeah, well, no. I used to work at a Datsun dealership.
Datsun dealership.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been given the wrong info, mate.
Yeah.
It's,
Oh, well.
It's a Datsun. It's a dealership nonetheless, and
Yeah.
you're doing a bit of work there. You've got a few years of navigating rallies up your sleeve.
That's
the
right.
The odd steer here and there.
Yeah.
I've got sort of two questions here, mate.
Yeah.
Where was Murray Coote's mindset back then? What did you want to become a rally driver?
Yeah. Well, I unfortunately, I was unfortunate enough to have a brother that went in a rally in 1964, believe it or not, and I navigated for him then, and that was Miss Australia Quest used to have fundraising things, and it was a rally, you know.
Yeah, you're 14 years old then.
I was 14, yeah. So I navigated for him, and then I sort of remembered that, you know, and then I started navigating. He started driving actually properly in the doing series like the Queensland series and that. And on and off, and I did navigating for him and some other people and whatever, yeah. Kept happening all the way through. And I had a car, I had an old Peugeot or something, I used to fang around and dick around. I reckon, you know, I could do that, you know, but we had no money, you know. And so I think it was 1974. I got married in 1973, so now we had two incomes, eh?
Yeah. So double the mate.
Yeah. So I had a car then.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So she kept the house and I got my car.
You got the car. Oh.
Yeah. So that was 1974, I think, yeah. Went as
so-
a driver.
And you're 24 years old there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got your whole life ahead of you, mate. So, you know, you've locked down a bird. You've gotten the money now for a car.
Yeah.
Was that your thought process? You're like,
No,
"Listen, Linda,
it wasn't really, no.
were you like, listen, Linda, I want to go racing. That's what I want to achieve. Or was it kind of like, I love racing, I'll just do whatever? And
I think it was like, what do you reckon, you know? And I thought, well, actually, we could do that now if we wanted to, but what do you reckon, you know? She said, no, she's very supportive. Yeah, fine, happy with that. She was a service crew, you know? Yeah.
That's beauty, mate.
And we, like, I can remember in 19-something, we were heading for an Alpine rally, and she was 3 weeks overdue with Josh, the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's loading the van.
Oh, mate.
Yeah, and then I missed out. I had to leave, you know.
Yeah.
I flew down, but it was too late. But
Oh,
anyway,
wow.
so I was saying,
Yeah, Linda's definitely a trooper.
Yeah.
Beside you.
Yeah.
I do want to touch on the financial side of it.
Mm-hmm.
What was the prospect like when you are that age? Because motorsport back then, I mean, I do feel like it would have been cheaper to be competitive.
Absolutely.
But I feel like it's still a pricey thing you're getting into. You know, is it?
You mean the time attack or
No, I'm.
the rallying. Yeah, well, back
then,
then you could, because of the rules and regulations. And the funny part is that we had a regulation, we had a rule, we had a category back then called Group G, which is sort of like, what was the word, run what you brung, you know. As long as you could register it, which was a lot easier back in those days, you could run it, you know. And so it made and there wasn't that much gear around either. So it was, and everyone was in the same boat. So it wasn't that expensive. It was still, you know, a lot of money in a way, but relatively to today, it was sort of nothing. And so you could always find an engine and a gearbox and a diff and something that was going to be strong enough and moulded in, and there was no such thing as homologated parts and all that, you know. So you could get something in there and, you know, and have a pretty good go.
Yeah.
And that did happen, you know. And so there wasn't the big gap, you know. Okay, at some stage there was the Ford and the Nissans and all that with their factory teams, but still the privateer could have a go, you know, and they could do that, build a similar car a lot less expensive.
Yeah.
And the factory team, but end up with very similar performance. So, and then of course with rallying, I mean, 85% of the stage time's the driver, as long as the car's not trying to kill you, you know, and it's balanced and it's got some sort of reasonable horsepower.
Yeah.
It's you know, there's only if 85% of it's the driver, well, 15% of it's the technical side of it, you know. So you can spend much money on the last bit, and you don't really go very far, you know.
Yeah.
Yep. So there you go. So that was always, it was very cost effective, bang for your buck back then for rallying. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's refreshing to hear, mate.
Yeah, it was, and it's a bit like time attack now, because you can run what you brung in a way, you know. There's certain rules, but they're very, you know, like there's not many, and they're pretty broad, you know, general sort of interpretation of everything.
Wriggle room.
Yeah, there's a fair bit of wriggle room, that's right. And so I suppose it's not unusual, you know, when I think about it, I think, oh, well, that's probably why, because I was attracted to rallying because of that, you know. You could start with a car that was slow as a wet week, and within 2 years and 3 years, as you sort of got a bit more money together and organised, you could make that car into a pretty fast car, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then whereas today you've got to buy a fast car, whereas with Time Attack you can buy whatever and engineer it into a pretty good car. Yeah, and it's quite price effective for impact, and yeah.
Yeah, no, that whole side of it, mate, like, because in this day and age, it is all heavily money.
It is a little bit over money, really. Like once upon a time, to win it, like if I go back to my rallying, because I know that to win a rally, you had to have driving ability, but you had wide overalls, and you weren't, you weren't the doctor or the whatever. But now, you've got to have money, which then culls out the driving ability a fair bit, so you don't get as much, as much activity at the top end, because the raw material resources of drivers, humans, they're culled, aren't they, very early. And so it's a bit, I don't know what you do about that,
Yeah,
it's a whole, I don't know what to do about that, because it's rallying is, I still think rallying is the greatest, because you can do a lot with not that much, and show your skills. But then there's forestry that's, it's not owned by the government as much anymore, and then private enterprise don't want to maintain the roads, only the main logging roads maybe, and then there's a lot more people around, and it's just harder and harder, and there's insurance problems, and it's a complex thing, not just a one thing.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Yeah. There isn't really a go-to answer.
No, I don't think there is a go-to answer. No.
Grab that handle, buddy. You're gonna need that. All right, Murray, you ready for the experience of your life? Shambles of a run as I can give you.
It's all right.
That's fine. They're scared for you, mate.
It actually grips quite. What tyres are on this?
Just cheap Chinese Max Treks.
Feels all right.
Yeah. Murray, that's a bit of you.
Yeah, there you go. Well, there's not a bit of... It probably helps to be mad.
Yeah, you got to have a little bit of a screw loose. Not too much. The entry for you, Murray. I'm not giving you a good example.
Oh yeah, the entry's a bit. Yeah.
All right.
Well, I reckon I won't. I shouldn't be sort of casting any ideas, because I don't want to hurt this car. But your entries are pretty good, but sometimes they start a little bit too early, don't they?
Yeah, definitely.
But that's easy from my side.
No, you're 100% right.
But if you just sort of waited a bit longer, that'd sort of...
Yeah, it'd flow a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought that was constructive.
No, Murray, throw it my way.
Yeah.
Throw it my way. I definitely need it.
Transit, solos. It doesn't seem to want to spin.
Nah, I'm trying to make it, but that's a driver, right? All right, a little bit later, Murray. Nice,
That was
mate.
perfect.
Yeah. It was you. See, you had to give the criticism, and then I was all good. All right, Murray, you reckon you can?
You are so funny.
Or you want me to do a few more laps?
I don't.
Yeah, I reckon you're itching.
Oh. So you're in third gear.
Yeah, so on the way into the dipper, I'm in fourth.
Yeah,
and then
I know.
I chuck, and then we go down into third, and third's usually the boogie bit. Second, if you really need the help.
Yeah, but normally if you give a car that big a chuck, you're going to spin out, but
Yeah.
it doesn't seem to want to spin out.
Nah, it's pretty good handling today.
Today.
Today, each day's different. Murray, give it some more.
I lost it, yeah.
Oh,
It's my elbow sort of trying to keep
yeah,
myself alive.
yeah. It gets a bit loosey goosey when you're like that.
How was your ballast?
Yeah, it was good. Definitely noticed it.
Would you be surprised if I said, can I go and have a piss?
Yeah. That's so weird. He's got to get the jitters out. Well, going back, we'll move on a few years from you being 25. You're doing some odd jobs, like you're contracting out for your mate at Redcliffe Steering. You're doing some Holden precision driving.
Oh, that's right.
stunt
Forgot about
stuff.
that. Yeah.
Getting amongst it. And then it's sort of around that stage, your rally preparation of preparing rally cars for drivers and whatnot starts to pick up a bit. And, I think this is sort of simultaneous with your driving as well. You're starting to get a little bit more notice. Did you sort of feel around this stage that you're on the cusp of, oh, yeah, we're close here, it's all about falling into place?
There wasn't that many real goals too. Like there wasn't a lot of sort of guaranteed drives at an end of a, if you did this, you got to drive. Well, it wasn't quite like that. But so we started the workshop in around about the 80s, might have been 81, and done the driving team about the same, the position driving team, for 5 or 6 years, and I did that as a lead up into keeping the workshop going, because it was mainly weekend work for the driving team, and then you could work during the rest of the time, in the workshop. I'm not too sure how it happened. We'd had some good results, and Joe Camilleri from Grand Prix. Yeah, so he'd just done the. I used to have a mobile economy run, and he had a 626, Mazda 626, rear-wheel drive 626, not a front-wheel drive one.
Yeah, now we're talking.
So,
Now we're talking.
So he sort of said, "Do you want to, it's done what it's done. Why don't we just make it into a gravel rally car?" And I thought, oh, okay, yeah. So we did a sort of something where I did all the work and they supplied some bits, and we ended up. I think we won a couple of state championships in that car. Because it was really cool running a 60. No one ran a 626 Mazda, Yeah. So we had to sort of develop it a bit and dick around.
It was 1980 and 81.
81.
Queensland.
Yeah, I think it was in that. Yeah.
And then. And then you sort of kept competing, and were you in the Australian Rally Championship?
Yeah, well then after that we gravitated to, I think we had a front wheel drive Mazda, which we did a bit of circuit racing in with Joe.
Yeah.
Joe was very supportive of me all the way through. Once he started, it was very good because it's a bit, to stay at a top level like that, it gets a bit expensive. So We had a 323 front-wheel drive for a couple of years, which that was a race car to start with, and then we changed that into a gravel rally car.
Yeah.
And we actually won a national round up here in the wet.
Oh,
you know?
wow.
Yeah.
The wet equalises.
Yeah. Now I think Greg Hansford was second. He killed a while ago, in his RX-7, which was sponsored by Botches. Yeah, so that was all cool, Joe, Botches, and even Hank Cable from Stones Quarter Motors, he was Mazda man. So they were all sort of we were competing as drivers, but they were competing as dealers, It was all pretty good. All at a state level, not a national level, but it was still back at state level, was quite strong.
And then that pushed forward.
That went through to the four-wheel drive BFM, what they call the BFMRs, which was the start of the sort of more like an international sort of category. And so we had a few years with them, And then Mezs Australia came along later on, and they helped out, and then we won we won a national championship, I think, with Joe.
Yeah.
And then Mezs Australia picked up a bit of stuff, and.
What was that like? Because that was a factory drive with Mazda, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, I still did all the work, and they supplied some budget. They supplied a car and a bit of budget, and we sort of prepared it and serviced it and ran it and the whole thing. So, and that was all good. That all worked well. We never won a championship. We came second, I think, to Greg Carr one year and something, but it was that was sort of towards the end of my rallying, because at this stage now we came to four-wheel drive turbo rally cars, and the cost went up 10 times. So. When Joe picked me up at a time when it cost X, by the time he finished, it cost 10X. And of course, when he stopped, then it went to Mazda Australia, and that was 10X. Well, I'm still in 1X. And so that sort of stopped, and whatever time that was, I can't remember now, late 90s. And then I decided to start building some shock absorbers, because I like a car that's not horrible to drive. Some people could jump in a car and just drive it, but I couldn't. I had to have a car that just sort of felt like me, Yeah. And so I sort of set up cars, and most of the people who had my cars always liked them, so that was good. And so that gave me a little bit of, energy to sort of say, well, back in the day, there wasn't that much around for suspension, particularly customised sort of race suspension, rally suspension that you could make in any dimensions. So that's where that all started. So when that sort of stopped, I sort of started. I moved the workshop from Redcliffe to here, and started just doing lathes and mills and welding and making shock absorbers. And that's what we're doing now. Yeah,
that's beautiful. Yeah. I still want to sort of chime in those rally days a little bit. 1983, I was watching some footage from the Gosford 2GO.
Oh my God, rally. Yes. Oh yeah, Datsun 1200 Coupe, I'd say.
Yeah. And you're going up like all the media reports. It's because it's about a 40-minute video, and it's just sort of a bunch of news segments and highlights. And I tell you what, mate, you end up coming second in that rally, but there's not much mention of Murray Coote. It's all the big names. You got Steve Johnson, you got Greg Carr, and all that.
And we even had, I think we had Malcolm Wilson from England and all that. Well, it was that sort of thing. It was about uplifting and things, and the more sort of high profile people, just to sort of try and lift the event up, I guess. I know. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I know yourself. You couldn't give a stuff about that.
No. The main thing is that you drove the car and you prepared, and it all went according to plan.
Exactly. But when it does come time to that money side, your sponsorship and being in the public limelight with airtime, that equals revenue. Like I
know the equations.
You know the equation. Does it kind of get on you? Was there any stage of I don't know how to explain this, but stuff these pricks. Like I'm coming second. I'm out here. I'm doing it. Murray Coote, baby. Or were you sort of supported enough that it didn't matter that you weren't?
At that one, I think that was my own car. And I wanted to build. I mentioned a while ago about Group G, Run What You Brung, and that had a time on it, and it started bringing out the international category. So I had a window. It was a 5-year, 4-year transition. So I thought, well, I better get in quick, because I need to build a car that I could express in myself and build of all the things I'd learnt, because we're running out of time, because once you go to the international category, you've got to do it all the homologated way, you see. So I built this little, what they call the sports sedan, and well, it wasn't a sports sedan, but that's got nicknamed a bit of a sports sedan, because it was a bit of a radical sort of thing, engine moved back and things and everything fabricated. It was nothing like a Datsun 1200 really, but it was just in the body. And that's why I did that, to try and build a car that was competitive outright, but do it in just using bits that.
Without over-exhausting.
Yeah, that were suitable, but just doing it in an economical way. So I forget where we're going now, but.
We're just against the Dick Johnson.
Yeah. But no, I think you just do your best you do, and whatever happens, happens. It's sort of.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite enjoyable to stay away from the publicity side of it because you can just do what you do, and you can have you can say things and it's not the end of the world, and you just do what you do, and you try, you are your own biggest judge, and.
No, that's
so I don't care.
mate.
It doesn't worry me that part at all. In fact, it's
just...
the sort of a bit of a. Hey, when you get to a certain, when we got involved with Mazda, there's a certain obligation to be a little bit sympathetic that way,
Yes.
And there's a few times there you used to answer things that you really wish you didn't have to answer them like that, So when you're doing your own, it's sort of quite nice. Really.
Yeah. That's surely that's got to feel good at the end.
It does. That's how it does. Yeah.
That's I love that. Going with the Joe Camilleri deal, how did that come about? Did you approach him or...?
No, well, he had a partner called Ross Moyer.
Yeah.
And Ross used to navigate in rallies and support rallies and things, and they were sort of partners, so there was a bit of a... so Ross obviously must have wanted to do something, and Ross talked to Joe, or they'd talk and whatever. And then,
and the rest is history.
So we got this car that was like, we never... Because normally we get the... back in that day, it was the old 1600s or Mazda RX-2s and RX-3s, and they're all done a bit, they're probably all a bit... Then you sort of spend 2 years and you build the things, but this was almost a brand new car. Holy smokes, like people come in the workshop and here's this brand new car and you're stripping it and getting all the tar out of it, and you've got the oxytorch going and all sorts of things, and it's quite, bit of a, bit strange, really.
Yeah. Surely it felt good.
Yeah, it was good. I said, well, at least we make it something that you can do something with, rather than just drive to the shop.
Oh, that's very cool. Very cool. Just going back to, you did mention you won the Australian Rally Championship in '88, and then sort of toward the '90s, you tailored it off. It finished up. Was the enthusiasm waning, or...?
No, I think it was I mean, it became impossible.
Yes.
Yeah. I was still keen to do that, and that stayed there a bit,
Yeah.
But I don't think the enthusiasm waned. No, it's just it was a practical,
decision.
Yeah. It's sort of just maths and physics don't lie, and it's only humans that lie. It's only maths and physics don't, And well, you say you can't, can you? So.
Yeah.
That's it. At the level at which you want to try and, which you're used to.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And do you think that's sort of what gave you the, maybe not the drive, but you're like, okay, like I can't go that angle anymore, but this suspension thing, I'm loving this.
Yeah, well, that's a bit like competing through other people.
Yes. Yeah.
And then over the period of time, it was good. Like it was good to then stay involved with your ex-competitors. Like Bates and I, we used to race rally against each other, and all of a sudden now we're doing his shocks. And you can do testing and dick around, and we both respected each other from the rallying results and all that, and other cars too. But so it was sort of a way of, it wasn't the whole car, but it was one section of the car. Although as it turns out, you think you're just going to do shock absorbers, but it just blends into a whole lot of setup, and which is really cool, And so, I think it's the same thing, just coming out in a different way.
Yeah, and like I'd almost to say like life works in circles, constantly going, and then you've done that, and now World Time Attack comes along, and that's sort of
well, that's it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, that was a refreshing challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that was. I actually met. I didn't know too much about it, but it was. I think my son John we were drifting in New Zealand, and then Ian Baker was there, and he started talking about it. So that was the beginning of the end, actually. Well, that was the beginning, really, and this is. Well, I don't know if this is the end or not, but that's where it all started. And I thought about it a bit, and it's really the Group G, the free modifications of the Group G rallying, which was so successful. And it suits my psyche or brain or whatever it is, whether right or wrong or whatever, I don't know, but it suits me.
Yeah.
And so I sort of, it's like starting at the end of Group G and just doing it on the circuit rather than doing it on the dirt,
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I got that vibe. Sort of rounding up, Murray, sort of the one thing that I truly admire with you is, I know, crazy concept, mate. There's something in there I admire. But it's your passion and, your humbleness. You've most people your age would be quite content kicking back with some pina coladas, And like even to the point where you see a lot of the sort of old bruisers, you know, Dick Johnson, he's still involved, obviously, with the racing, but it's circuit racing. That's where he's spawned from. With yourself, like you spread out across all these different disciplines.
Yeah.
And you're still going to the point when I phoned Linda to organise this. You're on the lathe, mate, working, slaving away. Like, how do you keep this passion still going, mate? Like,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested in what I do. You know, I enjoy all that, you know. So, I mean, I suppose if you retire, it means you didn't like what you're doing, isn't it? Like, as long as you mechanically found yourself and, got half a brain still working, I still enjoy all that. I don't like too much of a pressure, Yeah, I mean, once upon a time we used to work till midnight, might be making deadlines, events and all that. Well, I sort of
cut that
bit shy on that a bit, but without that, it's about the same really.
Nah, beautiful, Murray. I've just got a rapid fire questions.
Yep.
And then we're out of here. All right,
no problem. Yep.
Thoughts on the current state of motorsport?
Oh my God, that's a big question,
isn't
it?
That's a big question. That's why I started at the top.
Yeah. It's the current state. If I look at rallying, circuit racing, all that stuff, like it's just ridiculous the amount of money to get into a top level, and they've changed it. You know, I can understand how it got changed that way as far as franchising sort of stuff. You know, really at the end of the day, we were just looking at the V8 supercars today, and I'm thinking, you know, like they're extremely skillful. Everything's really good about it, right? But it's just not. There's something wrong, right? And I was just thinking, there's another category, and look, whatever. But I'll give an example. That's Trans Am racing, which they're like $150,000 cars. They're built, you know, they're a mass-produced chassis thing, which is really good with standard parts, with all the same parts, really. I was talking to my friend Glenn Seaton the other day. They reckon they get 2 to 4 years out of an engine. But if they just all got in those things, or something like that, or just those things, top 30 or 40, whatever, qualify, and the rest go home or watch or go to another tier, depending on what's going on, you know. To me, that's sort of what it should be, you know. So we've got a more affordable thing, because if I just go and chart across to rallying, even just to get a look in on rallying, you're looking at, look, if I'm going to put some figures into it, $2 to $3 million to spend over a couple of years just to see if you're any good. It's just crazy. I can remember once upon a time when, with the World Rallies, they had a World Rally in a country, but everyone competed together. So the state guys, the local guys could compete with the world guys just to see just where they all sat and all that. And they were in the same rally doing the same thing and all that. Whereas now it's all like a show, that circus goes around and plonks there, you know. And of course, because you need $2 to $3 or $4 to $5 million just to find out whether you're any good, well, you miss out on a whole lot of talent, don't you? So this is why you get one person winging everything. Like 8 years is won by one person, you know, because there isn't that many people anymore. Yeah. And so if you're good for a while, because you've got to wait for new bits to come in, you know, whereas once upon a time, there was a whole resources was huge, right, compared to now. Yeah. So that's what's probably been the biggest problem with motor racing, yeah. And, you know, and then it's all about the personalities, which is cool, you know, and it all gets a bit complex, you know, but basically I think it's unnecessarily expensive. It doesn't have to be. You've got to put on a show. You can do that with, you know, you don't need gold. Yes. You could have fabricated steel, you know, or something. You know, you can still put on a show. Yeah. There you go. So that's my take on motorsport.
Mate, I think you did pretty well with that, eh? That was summed up in a nice, neat little package. Next one. Are we going to win the war with the idiots on the road? There's a lot of them out there, Murray. And I know from your licence history, we're the same.
Oh, God. Well, I'd like to think. I haven't had a crash yet, but geez, I've had some tickets, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
On the war. Oh, well. See, but everything's spoon-fed, eh? Like, so I reckon, I think about it now. For the average guy, because we're a little bit fortunate that we actually interested in cars and driving, whatever. So we're sort of thinking about it. What people don't realise is that, I think, that really it's for 99% of the population, it's the most dangerous thing they'll ever do. Yeah, like, but no one knows that really. Well, I don't think they know that from what goes on out there. They don't think about it enough. There's not, you know, like just a lot of simple basic things. But I do think that the way the government, or the government, I suppose, try to do the road safety is that if you're driving down the road, right, and you're Fred, driving down your road, and you've just had a good night's sleep, you're not pissed, you're doing under the speed limit and the tyres are good. I'm safe. I haven't got to think anymore, right? But that's just so far away from reality. So that just misses the whole point of staying alive on the road. So, but they promote wrongness. There you go.
Yep.
So it's just a bigger hazard out there, and of course, there's hazards, there's kangaroos, there's corners, there's wet, there's this, and there's drivers, and they're just another hazard, and you got to, and it's not getting much better. It's not getting any better, I can tell you.
No. I'm glad to hear a man with such experience on the roads feel the same, because I can't face it when I'm out there on the road. I'm just like, what are you thinking, mate? If I didn't know what I knew, we're both done then. Like,
yeah,
we're both
that's
on
right.
The side of the road, and then they're getting angry at you, and you're like, mate, I've just saved it.
That's right.
I've just saved
That's right. That's all about saving the situation. That's right.
And you know, they think.
I mean, I don't have a lot of sympathy for single car crashes.
Yeah.
Because that's just crazy.
Yeah.
And there's no need.
Yeah.
As far as two crashes go, it's not your obligation, but if you want to stay alive, you've got to you've got to make allowances for everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you. Best steerer, any discipline.
Oh.
Right now.
My opinion.
Your opinion right now, current crop.
Well, I mean, you can't go past Shane, eh?
No.
He's driven our race cars, he's driven our drift cars. I've been with him testing on gravel rallying. He's the only race driver that I've ever been. I've been with a few, not lots, but I've been with a few on the gravel. And they don't quite get gravel, and I had my first run, well, Shane's first run on gravel in New Zealand, wherever in New Zealand, and he was testing this Mitsubishi Mirage. And very quickly he developed the sound technique, of not so much reading the road, we knew the road, but just the basic car setup, which is, a long way away from circuit racing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was his first time on gravel. And it was straight away, you could say he was going to be, he wasn't going to win the first national rally that he entered, but he was well on the way to being able to. Yeah, straight away. Yeah. So, you have to be.
I'm with you, mate.
There could be other ones around, but I don't know them. But I've had personal experience with that way, and I kept an eye on what goes on around the place. And
good choice, mate. Good choice. Final question. This might be a hard one, and it sort of tapers back into what we were saying. But one bit of advice: someone that's getting into motorsport now, they're not coming from money. What's the ticket? Piss off,
well, that's what happens too. You got to pick a discipline that you can afford.
Yeah.
And then weigh up, are you happy with the profile of that discipline? And then, you just don't want to keep putting it on credit cards, but.
Yeah, good advice.
So whatever that is, and it's getting harder and harder.
Yeah.
7,000's about it, but I wouldn't know if you're keeping an eye on that too much.
Nah.
I don't know whether I'm thrilled, excited, or just fucking scared.
Oh, I feel that. Oh, yeah.
Yes, it does.
Jesus. Eventually you'll get there.
Bloody oath. You scared?
Nah. Got the Australian Rally Champ behind the seat, mate.
You poor prick.
Alright, that's us, mate. Go.
I in trouble?
Nah. I mean, he might give the word to Kaylin, but I reckon we got a pass. At least a couple passes anyway.
I think you're better off taking your hands off the wheel.
Oh yeah, you gotta follow it. You want to trace it.
You got to chase it.
Yeah, you gotta trace it.
What do you mean trace it?
Well, if I'm chucking it like this, and then you want to let the wheel go, you still want to know where the wheel's going.
Yeah.
So you follow it round. Sort of like you wax on, wax off.
Yeah. You see, that's my biggest trouble. That was my biggest trouble with Josh's car. To learn to take the hand off the wheel and let it feed itself through.
Yeah,
It was just so difficult for me.
Yeah, it's different to what you're used to, that's for sure.
Me, I don't.
Yeah, spin it back. Woo! Oh, yeah, stay into it. Yeah! Yeah, that's it. Here we go. Shit, yeah. Hey?
I should do a couple of them where you can't get into trouble, where you can't hit anything.
Yeah.
We're not going to spin out this time.
Nah.
That was a bit cheating.
Yeah, it was a little bit.
It's allowed for a novice.
Yeah, exactly. When it's on limiter, it doesn't want to like. How do you explain it? Like it won't switch back as much.
Oh yeah.
So you'll have to steer it away. Like when we're heading for that way, because you don't have the drive to bring it back. You got to manhandle it the other way.
Yeah, that's fair comment. If you think it's best, if this is getting a bit dangerous and stupid, just let me know.
Yeah. No. Well, maybe don't hit him. Steer it. Yeah, go down a second. Yeah, Murray, that was hot.
Oh, that was a good entry.
That was really good.
I nearly got taillights first.
Yeah.
It was out of control.
Yeah, Muzz. Yeah. Oh, mate, you're a weapon. Oh, that was awesome.
I could take that both ways.
Yeah. No, that was the good kind. Strictly the good kind. Oh, Murray, that's beautiful, mate. How was that?
Good. I'm gonna get that Z going.
Yeah. Have you drifted much of the Z?
Never.
Oh, mate.
Never.
Today's going to be the day, right?
No way.
Step straight from 80 horsepower to,
Yeah. 680.
Oh, what a treat.
I gotta have a rethink and a recalibration of my tiny little brain.
Yeah, no. We got the first one down and we're all good. We're all safe, mate.
Yeah, and you're still talking to me.
Yeah.
Well, no one rushes over to jack our car up and see how we're going.
Nah, exactly, mate. You're just really on your own out here. I mean, and here's the problem, mate. They don't realise the calibre of driver that's in this car, you know?
It's just not appreciated.
Nah. Hey, first experience, what do you reckon?
Good. It's good.
Now get me out of here, he says. do some fancy editing in between the interview and here and just act like it all happened on the one day and not months apart. Mate, I got to apologise. I was saying yeah a fair bit during the interview. I get really excited, and when I was piecing it together, it kind of sounds like I'm rushing you, so I wasn't rushing you, mate.
All right, no, you're forgiven. That's fine. I'm glad you got excited.
Yeah. So, mate, we took you out in the 8.6 today.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts?
Well, it was good, really. I have to say, I was a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
Because last time I had to go up this caper drifting, it's sort of, well, I've done a lot of disciplines, but I've never done drifting successfully. And my son banned me on his car because he's got all those fancy low sill things, and he kept running off the track, and wrecking it. And so I got banned.
You got banned, mate?
Yeah,
oh, mate.
So it was just good to be able to get back in something that, well, not as though it didn't matter, but it wasn't mine, and you were happy.
Yeah. What did you say yesterday? All care,
all care, no responsibility.
Yeah, that's the one. I like that. That's a good saying. Mate, I got to ask you, because when you're out there, it was quite awesome to see. You felt it out a bit. The first run, very dodgy, but
really?
Yeah, mate, I told it to your face. Don't act like it. But what I want to know is you improved rapidly, got used to it. What is that something you? Sorry, let me reword this. When you're driving, how harsh are you on yourself to improve?
Yeah, well, you want to do that all the time, of course.
Yeah.
Well, this is a bit of a culture shock because these sort of angles and attitudes is normally I'm used to on gravel, but a long time ago. So just to try and find, what's the word, I don't know, some sort of normality back in doing this on tarmac. And probably similar application, but it's just different on tarmac because it's just more savage.
Yeah.
You had to learn that savageness,
I was trying to tell you to get you to clutch kick, and you said no. I want to treat the car nicely.
Clutch kicks are one of those things, last desperation things that I've been brought up with. And I know the mechanics of cars pretty well, and I know what happens when you do that. So I sort of try and always use it as a last resort, not a thing.
Oh, mate, no, you did absolutely pearler out there, and you even had some tips for me, mate. Well, overall, were you a bit scared getting in the car with me?
To start with, but after about 52 metres, I was fine. You showed you weren't going to kill me. And you were pretty well under control. It was good. I've enjoyed the day. It's been marvellous.
Awesome. One philosophical question before you go, Murray, and I've sort of thought about it a bit.
Yeah.
Back in the day, there wasn't all this social media, right, to distract. And so when you were focused on something, it was pure focus on that object.
That's right. Yeah.
Do you think that's coming full circle now, and where people are losing that full focus, and we're not being able to push ourselves and achieve more than we could?
It's an interesting question. I've never really been asked that question, but I've thought about it. I've thought about that sort of thing. What would it be if we had the social media? It's hard to know. I don't think to achieve what you want to achieve that social media does you any good, personally. I don't know if I could say much more than that. I don't think it's a good thing for someone trying to focus and better himself. No. Because there's too much, well, depending on their character, but it would interfere with their train of thought, and which may not necessarily be real.
No, beautiful, Murray, beautiful. Mate, I've had an absolute blast.
Good.
I can't thank you enough for coming out and taking the gamble. You took the gamble, and it paid off, I reckon. I reckon we had a blast.
And you still got a car to go.
Yeah, I still got a car. I can drive home, and that's all I asked. That's all I asked.
That was good.
It's been an absolute blast having you on, Murray. I can't thank you enough, mate.
Been a
Bloody
pleasure.
beautiful.
Marvellous.
Awesome. Hey, welcome back. If you made it this far, that's a decent effort, I reckon. There was a lot of words in that, but hopefully you were entertained, or maybe you found a life lesson. Because that's what it's all about. Just learning and growing. And I definitely learned a lot doing this, so I'm keen to keep growing with it. Keen to get better. And can't let you guys go with thinking that's how I drive. So here's a little something of me cutting sick later on. Catch you guys next time, and thanks for joining me. Oh, and because I love Stock Standard so much, like, subscribe, share. Or just get us a TV deal. If you get us a TV deal, that'd be sick, because like I'd way rather that than doing this stuff. You know, I'd rather, yeah, you know? Thank you.